our project with a mutual agreement that we would all put a constant effort towards our project throughout the entire semester in order to succeed. My group and I came up with 3 main goals. Our first goal being that we wanted to raise $700 for the Boys and Girls Club. Our second goal was that we wanted each member of our team to work towards a common goal and equally participate. We wanted to use this class assignment as a learning experience and be able to take more than just a grade from it. We wanted to be a well-rounded group that set a good example for the rest of the class. Our third goal was that we wanted to take advantage of our team members being a part of Greek life. We wanted to get the community's involvement and support with our project. We wanted to communicate with our members and encourage the need for help with the Boys and Girls Club. Our first few ideas were doing dress downs for $1 at our chapters, sell puppy chow on the quad, sell hot chocolate on the quad, sell food in front of the pub, and volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club. A tip that I would give to future students taking small group is to make a conscious effort to be a good group member. The project relies heavily on each individual within the group, and it is important to always be contributing and working towards the common goal.
Our group had a solid and well-balanced timeline of events for raising money for the semester. Due to some scheduling conflicts, some events had to be moved around. The Dress for $1 nights we held for our Greek chapters is one example. Due to the chaotic first few weeks of the semester during Greek recruitment, the first 2 dress down events had to be canceled. We were, however, able to have the last 2 events at the end of the semester. This managed to work out for us because of the added members to our chapters after Rush. On October 5th, Chi Omega held a philanthropy event where we were able to raise extra money. A Boys and Girls Club donation cup was placed on the table for the duration of the day. Our next planned event was to set up a night to sell grilled food outside of Pub 2. After researching the requirements and costs through the normal health department, we as a group decided it was in our best interest to cancel the event. We also had 2 unannounced dates to sell puppy chow and hot chocolate on the quad at the beginning of the semester. After the canceled pub event, we decided to have 3 days to sell puppy chow. Those days were November 11th, 13th, and 18th. These days ended up being quite successful for our group. One class concept we applied in this process was relational communication with our group. A lot of communication was required between all of us when rescheduling all of our events. We were all courteous to each other's schedules and were able to accommodate to everyone's availability throughout the semester. My one tip to a next group would be, do your best as a group to stick to your original timeline of events.
Overall, I think as a group, every single one of us worked together to minimize difficulties and work through the ones that inevitably came about throughout the semester. In the beginning of the semester, when Megan had told us the common difficulties that groups had faced just from her having experience, we tried to avoid these by planning ahead and kind of just working with it. While we were successful with avoiding some of the difficulties, it wasn't always the case. One common task difficulty that we ran into a few times had to do with decision making. Coming up with the ideas on how to raise money for the Boys and Girls Club was one of our first difficulties that we ran into initially. We were all brainstorming ideas, so it got a little crazy, but then we had to take a step back and start getting our ideas out on paper instead of just words, and we just figured out pros and cons of each one and made our decisions from there, which made it a lot easier. Also working with scheduling, we were fundraising and selling puppy chow was difficult because we had to accommodate for everyone's class schedule since it wasn't going to be a time that we were meeting or a time that we were in class. Some relational difficulties that we ran into when we were originally picking out our positions was that we didn't really know each other, so we were almost just throwing people in positions without really knowing their personality and what position would fit them best based on it. Luckily, we were all really good at our jobs, and we did a really good job, and I think we kind of based it off of what we think we could do good, and it actually benefited us in the end. We also had a hard time communicating with each other in the beginning because not all of us were in the same group, so we were all communicating separately. So we found an app called GroupMe. We were able to put all of us in it so everyone could communicate at the same time. We made a Facebook group so that we could post all of our stuff that we would be working on and, just giving feedback on certain things. Our last issue we had was some people not being flexible on adjusting meeting times, which is going to come about in any group situation. Everyone has different schedules. So we just kind of had to work with that, and it inevitably created interpersonal conflict between some of the members, but we just had to think about what our main goal was, and at the end of the day, it ended up working out. Some external conflicts we ran into were working with the Bone Student Center to reserve a time on the quad to sell puppy chow. The person who was in charge of scheduling was hard to get a hold of and wasn't really the easiest person to work with. It took a couple of times to finally schedule a couple of days to sell on the quad, but we finally got a hold of him, and we were able to get through it. As for internal conflicts, I believe they differ from person to person, but I know for some of the ones that I ran into had to do with time management with my other classes and some personal issues I ran into in the middle of the semester. I found myself always struggling to find time each week for the class because of the rigor that all my other classes were demanding, because this was my first semester taking all major classes. So I kind of had to find that balance. It was always hard to stay focused on this class because this is kind of in the background because it's more of a semester-long project than it is like right there. I was constantly stressed out because I was worried about finding time, but once I was a couple of weeks into the semester and was kind of learning how the flow of things was going, I got the hang of it and the stress started to go away. Another issue was some family problems I was having in the middle of the semester that took me away from the group and school as a whole. I worked closely with my group members and the teacher to make sure that I was making up anything I was missing so that I wouldn't be falling behind. Overall, I think that this was a really good experience for everyone in our group. I think this made us grow as individuals and as a group together. If I were to give a tip to somebody who's taking this class or thinking about taking this class or in the same situation that we were in, working with groups, it would be aware of groupthink. I know you learn what groupthink is when you're starting this course and you understand what it means, but as much as you understand what it means and you try to avoid it, it's a lot easier said than done. When you're working in a group, we're prone to altering our opinions or our perspectives just to fall in line with everyone else is saying. It can cause a group just to make a decision that members don't really agree on, and they're just doing it just so they don't have to disagree with people. Working in groups doesn't necessarily mean that you're conforming. If you disagree with a decision and anything that the group is talking about, voice your opinion. Don't hold back just because it's what the majority of the group is doing.
This semester, our group did 2 Dress On for $1 at our weekly chapter meetings. The first one was held at the Chi Omega House, and the second was held at the Pi Kappa Phi House. Usually at a chapter meeting, it is required for the members to dress in business attire. This includes nice clothing that looks put together and professional. At Chi Omega and Pi Kappa Phi, the money was collected before the meeting started. There was also a Facebook post for each chapter that informed the members about our organization and the fundraising we were doing. Most of the chapter participated and dressed on for $1 in an attempt to help us reach our final goal. Our second event was selling puppy chow on the quad, and our team members set up a table on the quad during the day, and at this event we just were getting people to buy puppy chow as they were passing by on their way to class. We advertised our event so that people knew the money we were raising was going towards the Boys and Girls Club of America. And once people knew that the money was going towards a good cause, they were much more willing to buy puppy chow and donate money. So a tip that I would give to another student taking this class, I would say be as enthusiastic as possible, because when you're enthusiastic and excited about raising money, that gets other people to be more excited about donating.
In the beginning of the semester, my group members and I brainstormed ways that we could achieve a goal of raising $700 for the Boys and Girls Club of America. In order to meet this large goal, we came up with several smaller goals to try and reach our main goal. I believe that we were unable to accomplish our goals due to each team member being very busy in the beginning of the semester and not being able to all coordinate our schedules together. Even though we did not fully reach our goal through events and fundraisers, we reached numerous donations through our website and local family-owned businesses. We learned many things throughout the semester. We learned how to effectively collaborate and communicate with one another through trial and error, such as scheduling conflicts.
As a group, when we were asked what decision-making processes we used, at the beginning of the semester we sat down and we brainstormed ideas on how we could raise money instead of just donating money for the Boys and Girls Club of America. So we used the nominal group technique from Chapter 8, which is titled Decision-Making Procedures, in order to efficiently adopt the best ideas for our group brainstorming. To avoid groupthink, we made sure each and every group member fully participated in each discussion and encouraged them not to hold back any opinions or ideas that they have. We created a well-organized PERT chart, and PERT stands for Program Evaluation and Review Technique, and as it means to basically lay out our plans for the entire semester. These procedures made it much easier to get our group projects started, even though we had a few minor mishaps, such as the scheduling conflicts where everyone was busy and the beginning of the semester was very hectic. So a tip that we would give to students taking this class in the future would be to really get creative when brainstorming ideas and events for the semester project, because it's hard. It's really hard to do.
A lot of people had ideas very similar to ours, So when we wanted to set up tables on the quad, it was kind of hard to get dates and times that weren't already taken by other groups that were trying to raise money as well.
Overall, our group members were very satisfied, although there were some aspects we would have done differently. Everyone had a positive attitude starting the project that continued throughout the course of the semester. Our positive attitudes definitely resonated with the final product of the group. At the beginning of the semester, we quickly established a work-friendly environment where each member of the group could freely express their thoughts and opinions. We started our group work in the library, but quickly found out that it may have been too distracting for members and was interfering with group productivity. In retrospect, our relocation from the library to the Chi Omega household should have come a bit sooner, but nonetheless it happened and improved the group's chemistry. The relocation was a turning point for our group, and after a couple weeks in, when we finally did the move for our group meetings, we really kicked it into gear. We were able to see how the library restricted group members from expressing their thoughts on potential decisions that were to be made when we observed how Chi Omega allowed for a free and open environment that essentially encouraged member satisfaction. And of course, a group meeting location isn't a positive environment unless the members of the group help make it one. We had a very cohesive group before the project had even started because, for the most part, we all knew each other relatively well. Despite familiarities in the group, there was still a long way to go before we could reach our final goal for the project. The bonds that had been formed prior to the group's formation endured challenges at times, but this was all part of the success that eventually led to more member satisfaction when the project was completed. The best tip I could provide for anyone going into this project is to start the project with a positive attitude. Yes, it is important to start the project as early as possible, but that doesn't matter if you have a poor attitude toward the project's goals. When you are working in a group, you will have deadline goals and other criteria. You will finally realize how essential it is to have a positive attitude. Otherwise, you and other group members may not be able to work effectively. Part of what made our members satisfied was that everyone remained positive in times of adversity and stress. If you think positive, then you will see positive results, individually and as a group.